Here I am.
Oh, Michael Strickland, how are you?
That would be me.
You're supposed to be quiet for a while. You're like our big guest star today. Not that we're not all stars, but you're our special only once in a while here star.
Liking the production value there, Marcel.
Hey, I got about a 25-year-old Comar or 20-year-old Comar LED fixture. The only one that still works. Patrick Dearson, you have no friends today. Your mic's not working either, rookie.
I was waiting for Chris McMean, actually. I wanted to ask, he always got the food behind him. I want to know, do you put the milk in first or the sushi roll?
Oh, my God.
I don't know how he does it.
That's classic. Classic. Mark Ravenhill?
So, are you there?
I am.
Oh, hey, it's Nancy from Red Rocks. Hey, I got a quick off-topic question for you. Do you know when Ozark starts the 4th season?
Yeah, I looked this up. I think it was June. No.
Okay.
Wait. No, I'm wrong. No, it's like next something, right? Next March or something. I forget. I'm following so many series now. I'm following so many series now, so I don't remember when they all start. Does anyone know when Ozark starts up again?
They're on series 4?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, the third one was just binge watched by me.
Yeah, me too. That's what I was wondering about the 4th one. I know you were watching it. So.
Yeah,
Sorry.
if you guys haven't done the Epstein thing, I watched the entire series like Saturday morning or something. It's pretty good. I'm making a heck of a lot of noise here.
Season 4 is scheduled for late 2021.
Oh.
Okay. Damn.
That's assuming that they're filming by then.
That's probably what's pushed it.
Yeah. So I don't think we need to wait. Wait, is Chris McMean here?
Hi, Marcel.
Hi, Robert. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Wiseman's here. I guess we can start then.
Buddy.
Hey,
So
Wiseman.
we have some new people here that haven't been on this group before, and I'm trying to look through and figure out who those people are. But Mark Ravenhill, I see you.
Hey, Marcel. Nice to join.
How are you? Everyone must know Mark Ravenhill, I think.
Hello, Mark.
Hey,
Mark?
Who else? Michael Strickland, of course. Michael, thank you for joining us. I don't know. Who's new?
Me.
Raise your hand. Oh, Ellen, I never even saw you up there. You're in my top right corner.
How you doing?
Amazing. Does everyone know Ellen, who was with Lighting Dimensions for the longest time, and now I believe Live? Is it still called Live? I know you've
It's still
gone
called
through a
Live
few owner
Design and
changes.
LDI, absolutely.
Yeah. So, anyone else new?
Annalise is joining us today.
Where is
Annalise.
she?
Hi, Annalise.
Oh my goodness!
Annalise.
Wow. Hi,
Hey.
Annalise. So, yeah. Who else? Anyways, thank you all. Thanks everybody for coming. And
Proud.
it's a fun and wonderful group. I apologize if it's a little noisy here, but I just got this Nordic Track bike thing called an S22i, a studio bike. And my son is battling with it in the other room, and it's pretty noisy. So if you hear a woman screaming, she's screaming at him, hurry up. First of all, I wanted, hey, Jeremy, can you turn that down a bit? On the side, on this side of the monitor, this side of the screen. There's a volume. Yeah, down. Thank you. Sorry, everyone. So one thing I'm curious about, I've been looking this week at a bunch of pivots that are not in our industry. And by pivots, I'm sure everybody's heard the word because this COVID thing has brought it out. But, you know, there's a lot of pivots. There's some famous ones that I might have even talked about on here before, like Netflix, who was delivering CDs or DVDs at one point and pivoted to being a streaming service, and obviously has done very well in that. But there are more recent COVID pivots, and one is, for example, a big one is airlines have pivoted their business from passengers to cargo flights. So a lot of the airlines are actually stacking the passenger section of the plane with cargo, and including food, grocery items. Somebody's on a phone call and isn't muted. Anyways, you know, another one is grocery stores who have become fulfillment centers. So they're doing online orders and shipments and whatever. I get groceries delivered quite often. So one of the things I'm wondering and has me curious, you know, we've all seen companies like Upstaging, who's I think the most famous in our industry that pivoted. Certainly Michael Strickland, who's going to talk here in a minute, has pivoted his own role to become sort of a lobbyist for our industry, and he's done an incredible job with that. Again, Upstaging, making PPE. But has anyone else, and I know Patrick's been working on a couple of different things. Thank you for my t-shirt, by the way, I got one. Which I bought it. So I'm not thanking you for gifting it. I don't want anybody to start rushing Patrick for free swag because I actually bought it. But has anyone else got any good examples of either yourself or you know, the company you work for or someone else that you know, and I know there's been a lot of these virtual sort of soundstage things that I'm seeing that are amazing. But like Rob Gibson was showing me some stuff that he was doing in the thing they're doing there in Chicago. But anyone else?
We in Denver, we've got, I think we told you this already, but we've got the Denver Coliseum being a homeless shelter for women. And then we're trying to get something at Red Rock.
Sorry. Somebody's talking on a phone call here.
Is that how it works?
Lost Denver.
You can just mute everybody for a second, and then they can unmute themselves.
Yeah, hang on a sec. That's what I'll do. So I muted myself instead. I'm going to mute everyone if I can remember how to do it.
Hey, Marcel.
Yes, sir.
I can take it. So we've built at the old VER building known as the E3 demo room in LA. We built one of these virtual reality studios. We did the final episode of American Idol in there with a Katy Perry, and then she also shot a video. We also made a lot of the PPE stuff. It wasn't really well publicized. This PRG the Scenic Technologies made thousands of the masks.
Right.
But we've you know, we had a call this morning, and basically the vibe was, look, those studios are probably here to stay because of all the additional things you're able to do out of them, and it's kind of a leap forward that was pushed by this having to pivot, right? Just to do something. But we're building one in Nashville and we're building one in Chicago as well. So,
right.
You know, it's you know, need is the mother of invention, right?
Right.
John, will the ones in Nashville and Orlando have the XR capability as well?
I don't know about Orlando, but Chicago and Nashville will all be XR. They'll all be identical to the one that's in you know, right, within a spec or two. The one that's in Burbank. Yeah, I mean it's something that we were kind of doing anyway. That basically got pushed to the forefront because there's fucking nothing else to do. You know, except for talk about drive-ins. That we have I think almost 100 in our Salesforce thing, almost 100 drive-ins that are being discussed, and it's like, you know, in my mind, the best thing that can happen is this thing breaks open and those just disappear because I think they're bullshit deals. But you know, at least somebody's trying to do something.
Yeah. Yeah, great. No, I mean, we talked about the I don't know, what do you call it, XR, VR, whatever it is, the thing that you did with Katy Perry at PRG, and you know, that was obviously incredible. And I think everyone's seen it now. And I've seen a few other ones that are pretty cool. I haven't seen one quite as cool as that one yet, but
Yeah, got to give credit to Smasher and Baz Halpin who was driving that. They, you know, that and the PRG team there, Vuron and the rest of them. They just came together very quickly to put that together. Did a great job.
Yeah. And what happened? Do we have Denver back now? Red Rocks, you there?
No, but I saw that. Oh, sorry, we do have Denver.
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah.
My bad. I was gonna say Corey Fitzgerald, kudos as LD on the Katy Perry thing, which was awesome.
Yeah, it was good. Red Rocks?
Sorry, how do I do this? 6?
Yeah, nope, you were on.
Now.
Hang on. Now you're unmuted. I just unmuted you.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're still trying to work out doing a drive-in theater, obviously, in one of the parking lots, and using our LED screens for that, or our digital film projector that we use for Film on the Rocks for that. And then our Denver Coliseum is being used as a homeless shelter for women right now. So we're still pretty busy waiting to see if we're going to have any kind of a season yet or not. And we're supposed to be building a new roof at the end of this. So if we're not going to have a season, we may start tearing out the old roof earlier. But that's what's going on with us.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I saw the Miami Dolphins stadium is talking about doing drive-in movies or something in there. I mean, to me, you know, there's a line that I think we cross where it doesn't really impact us at all. You know, maybe the venue's keeping some concessions going or something, but it doesn't obviously do anything for our business. But, you know, I'm just looking for companies that have, you know, really just reinvented themselves and found something completely new or different to do. And there are so many great examples of it out in the world. There's not that many in our industry because at the end of the day, you know, if you're a touring lighting company, there's only so many things you can do outside of touring lighting, right? So,
so Marcel, also a little bit of news outside of the touring business. The NBA has. I just was on a conference call where Adam Silver gives his spiel to the agents and whatnot, and it looks like they're gonna do a 22 game playoff style starting July in Orlando. All the games in Orlando, all the teams in Orlando. I don't even think that's been publicly announced yet.
Right.
That's
yeah,
cool.
I had heard some. And now, is that with or without fans?
Without fans so far, but because they picked Florida because they think they have a chance because the way it's gone down there as far as
our governor has a clue.
Yeah, you know, I'm trying to stay away from that, but yeah.
Yeah, me too.
But I think that the unspoken plan is playoffs, 22 teams in Orlando in July, and it wouldn't surprise me if it busted open. You know, like I've been the one saying that the thing that's going to change our world. This is before these protests, which apparently social distancing's out the fucking window. Was going to be one of these national conventions, and I think they're going to. It's pretty. I think the Republicans decided today that they're out of North Carolina and they're going somewhere else. So that's all where it's going to get interesting.
Well, hockey also announced a quick playoff run, sort of a very different playoff run, which is going to be interesting. And the other one that I just saw, Formula One, again without fans, but they've announced at least the first 8 races, the first 2 of which are in Austria. And, you know, they're going to do some things to try and make it interesting. Like they're talking about reversing grids and stuff. So, you know, I'm hearing some things are coming with fans though, with people. And I heard some rumors today that I don't want to even bring up because I don't know if they're true or not. But a couple of things that I did hear that will actually have fans in place. And, you know, I'm kind of chomping at the bit to get Mr. Strickland talking here. So I don't know if I tried to forward it to everyone, the killer letter that Michael sent out today. If you're lucky enough to be on Michael's email list, every few days he sends out an email that really is just kind of an update on what's going on or some ideas. And, you know, not to blow smoke up your skirt, Michael, but you've been pretty on point with most of these letters that you're sending out. And the one today was certainly, right there as well. So we invited Michael to come and join us today because not only because, he's got a platform and he's got some things to say, but I also want him to hear what some of us are saying. And so there you go, Michael.
I'm not on Michael's list for that, but I'm sure I'm on some kind of list in Michael's office. Michael, you've done great work, buddy. Great work. Thank you.
I started ad hoc. I started a small email chain March the 15th, and I just keep adding people to it. So when this ends, I'll go add some more people. But in a nutshell, I sit in a particularly weird position while I spend about 60 hours a week running this company. I've also done a lot of things for 40 years that you all don't know about. I run a $1.8 billion budget at the local hospital. I chair the finance committee. I ran the Chamber of Commerce here. I've been engaged in college football my entire life. Jimmy Haslam, who owns the Cleveland Browns, is from here and is a good friend of mine. Bruton Smith, Marcus Smith, and the guys that own Motorsports Speedways are friends of mine. So I sort of live in the medical world. I take 3 phone calls a day since the 14th of March with the board over at the hospital. And we discuss the real medical issues, which I'll get into in a moment. But then I talk to the NCAA people daily, the NFL people daily, the NASCAR people daily, and I have a real good sense of what they're up to. And right now, NASCAR plans on having butts in seats at the end of June. And I'm not violating any trust, but this past Sunday, when they ran up at Bristol, which is one of Bruton's tracks, Sullivan County, actually the county and the county health department wanted the fans in the seats. And they asked Bruton Smith and his team, put fans in here. And they erred on the side of caution and didn't. So you had the political will to have fans in seats at Bristol last Sunday. So they're working towards having fans in the seats at the end of this month.
Wow.
The NFL and the NCAA are both planning on September starts with butts in seats, and they believe that it will happen. And if you got today's email from me, I do believe holistically. Now, today was the first thing I'd sent people that was purely an opinion. Everything else has just been facts. But I believe 30 days from today, we have had 500 plus major events in the last 9 days with all these protesters all over the world. And 30 days from today, we're going to have empirical medical evidence as opposed to a theoretical model of, do we have hundreds of thousands of sick people, or are we kind of okay? And, if we get there and we're kind of okay, I think that works to our advantage, because then we as an industry will feel much safer. The political will be there. The people will not be afraid to go. And
yeah, if they don't lie about it, Michael.
How would you lie? I mean, I think you would see. I think you would see if Armageddon happens, if people are dying in the street. Now, moving to the lying part, that's my medical hat. I can tell you the truth, and a lot of people don't want to hear it, but the UT Medical Board talks daily and weekly to the state of Tennessee. We belong to the Vanderbilt Health Network, and then we also talk once a week nationally. And what happened was, with the medical piece, is we had no data, no information. We all shut down. We did what we should have done, and we got to where we were. But now that we're at the other end of it, the medical think is this. This is a flu. It's an extraordinary bad flu. It's a highly contagious flu, and it's largely fatal for older people. Those are facts that we know. And you've probably heard rumors, but I'm here to tell you, the federal government came out week 2 and they pay us 120% of what we bill. So if you come in the UT Medical Center with a broken arm, we're going to check you for COVID. And if you've got COVID, we'll treat your broken arm, turn you in as a COVID patient, and make more money. And that is why, remember, the statistics went down to 60,000 and then boom, 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 they shot up. That was the week that the feds did 2 things. One, they allowed us to tag virtually anything COVID. And then a very important thing that doesn't get talked about, they said you can tag dead people as presumptive COVID. In other words, you don't test them, you just go, well, that guy died of COVID. We've had 5 deaths in Knoxville total. We've had a total of 43 people hospitalized for COVID. 43 total, not at once, total. Of the 5 deaths, 1 of them was actually from COVID. The other 4 came in and they were all over 85. 2 of them were heart attacks and 2 of them were massive strokes. They just happened to have COVID. So you're seeing a lot of skewed data, to your point, John. But the typical medical think is that we're in an environment where it's financially to our advantage to tag everything we can COVID. You will not hear that out loud or see that put into writing, and here's why. If UT Medical Center or any other hospital goes out and waves their hands and goes, it's not that bad, they reduce our federal funding. And we don't want to get our federal funding reduced. So it is a problem. It is a highly contagious virus, but it isn't the big deadly killer that we thought it was. And so as we move forward, if we get to the end of June and if the hospitals are not overwhelmed, I do believe that the social, political, medical think will put our industry in a position that we can move forward in July and August with shows.
Hey, Michael, I got a really quick question. You're clearly well plugged into this. At what point in history prior to this, and I don't know the answer to this question, did we or any society quarantine everyone and not just the people that were ill? Is this something new that they've done? Because that to me just jumps off the page.
In the United States, it was never done. There is some discussion that we did it in 1918 for the Spanish flu pandemic, but we didn't have the centralized government to do it. Having said that, and most people don't know this, the biggest reason that World War I ended was the Spanish flu. More people died in World War I from the Spanish flu than from bullets. 50 million people died globally from the Spanish flu. 168,000 died in the United States. The reason our number was so low was we had the only sophisticated healthcare system in the world at that time. So, you can pull numbers out of just about anything, and I'm not advocating one way or the other, but there is a lot of hysteria over the numbers.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, I want to remind everybody, number one, that Michael, in addition to all of his normal full-time jobs, really has taken on becoming, not only an advocate, but really a lobbyist for our industry, and has sort of led the charge on and I might speak out of line here, and I'm probably going to not know all of the things, but certainly on PPP and the second round of PPP, and I think even maybe some of the disaster loans and just all kinds of these things. And so, I mean, if you guys have a question or have any thoughts or have any challenges that you're currently facing with, your own local governments or whatever, this guy knows it all. I mean, he really has been sort of on the front line of this battle right since the very beginning and even before the beginning. So, I mean,
let me tell you where it sits right now, because I've had three of these today about that. I'm friends with Marsha Blackburn and Lamar Alexander for 40 years. They are personal friends, never discussed politics with until this happened. I ended up on the phone with Lamar on the 15th of March and ended up on the speakerphone with Steve Mnuchin and explained to him how rock and roll worked, that when those contracts ended on the 13th, we didn't get paid. Mnuchin thought that we were going to get paid out on all of our contracts. They now fully understand how rock and roll works. I've also got Hal Rogers, a congressman from Kentucky, is a friend and on board, and Hollingsworth from Indiana, who I've known since Trey Hollingsworth since he was a little kid. So I've got 2 senators and 2 congressmen that I communicate with daily. We marched through the original CARES Act. We then did the PPP. We're now doing the HR 7010, the CARES Cleanup Act. And here's where it sits for those of you that have gotten or need to get a PPP. First and foremost, you need to know there's still $120 billion in the PPP fund. So if you haven't got the money, go get it. You can apply and then not take it. But here's where it sits. The original Treasury regulations changed the original intent. But where it sits now is you can borrow the money. The money after 8 weeks can be forgiven if you spend 75% of it on payroll, and payroll is very broad. It extends into healthcare and retirement funds and those things. Well, this cleanup act right here, which they assure me will be passed by the end of the day Friday, there's a version in the House and a version in the Senate. The two of them have to come together to some sort of resolution. But they assure me, I talked to Marsha Blackburn 3 hours ago, she assures me they are going to extend the runway either from 8 weeks to 16 or 24. Don't know which one. The House wants 24, the Senate wants 16. The House wants to reduce the 75% payroll to 60%. I am told that is going to happen. There is also a caveat within the original bill that says if you get forgiveness on the money, you cannot also delay payment of your matching 6.2% FICA. Well, the CARES Cleanup Act does away with that. So you can both get forgiveness, but also delay payment of your matching 6.2% FICA. Half of it is due December 31st, 2021. Half of it is due December 31st, 2022. They assure me 5149, that's going to happen. There are some other provisions in there that are up in the air. But the good news is for those of you that have borrowed money, I do believe that they are going to get this done by Friday. And I do believe that some of you, your butt's up against the wall right now, that it's not going to be 8 weeks, it's going to be 16, because most of you didn't pay people during that time frame. Most of you didn't use that money. I'm pushing for the 24-week window so that you can still hit the 60% threshold and have the loan forgiven. So that's kind of a nutshell of where it is today.
Very helpful information. Thank you for sharing that. So, again, I don't know that most of us are going to have access to somebody who's more knowledgeable on these things than Michael is. So, if you have questions or you're having challenges or anything, speak up.
And
hey, Michael, Patrick again.
Feel free to email me. Yeah, Patrick.
Hey, so was there also a talk about a 30-week delay or window? I've heard that there was an extension beyond the 24. Is that completely gone, or was that still being discussed?
It's not been reduced to a bill. The House passed the bill 476-1 for 24 weeks. The Senate bill that was passed 10 days ago was for 16 weeks. The only way they can get it done by Friday really is by unanimous vote from the Senate. In other words, they just say we unanimously pass this and it's done. Otherwise, they have to come back and vote on it in the Senate. Now they're there and they can accomplish that. But
right.
There is some pushback. Mike Lee does not want, from Utah, does not want the 24-week. And he's pushing back, and a couple of other people are pushing back. I don't really know what's going to happen, but they do assure me it is going to happen. I've never heard 30 weeks. Now, the other piece that I've sent to many of you in the email, I'm pushing for 3 more discrete tranches of PPP. The odds of that are very long, very long. But I've made them aware, and that's the email that went out 2 days ago where I had you all send that little cut and paste letter thing that's going to your congressman. That's putting hopefully thousands of the same email in all of the Congress people's boxes, because what gets a senator or a congressperson's attention is when you've got a large number of people all saying, I want chocolate ice cream. Then they say, you know what,
Michael, sorry to interrupt, but I don't want to shock you, but I haven't gotten any responses back yet. I haven't gotten Christmas cards, birthday cards, nothing.
You don't get responses. They have aides that look at it, and then the aides then give them basically a spreadsheet saying 152 people are concerned about this. It doesn't even go in. I explained that in one of my emails. The aides send them a summary that 543 people are concerned about more money for the live entertainment industry. That's
hey,
really
Michael. Michael, I wasn't on your original Wiseman. I wasn't on your original deal. I'd love it if you could have someone forward that to me, because I'd be all over it. And I got to bounce out here in a few minutes. Before I do leave, I do want to look you right in the eye and tell you, thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I'll send it to you.
I can forward it to him right now.
Yeah.
It's
It's
on
great.
PLSN and it's on Polestar.
It's great work, Michael, and because of these relationships, I mean, we're all in the relationship business. You're in the relationship business where we really need you right now. So all of those years and years that you put into, cultivating those contacts and friends, and you know what, I just can't thank you enough.
Yeah, you met some of those people when you were at the football game.
Yeah, I don't know if I was drinking that time or not. So if I did meet them and they're still talking to you, I was probably sober. Anyway, thank you so much right from the heart, man. It's heavy lifting. You and I have always not always seen things the right way, but in times like this is when it doesn't really matter. You got to come together, and this is for the working man. There's some people that work with us and around us, and we employ, and that we all just desperately really care so much about. That's we're not used. I mean, I'm not used to being in a helpless position. I feel like almost powerless to do anything other than give loans and help people out. But that's bullshit. People want to work. People want to earn their living. They don't want free shit. They want to fucking work. And so everything you're doing here is just really I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Michael, pretty much everyone on the call here is asking me to forward your letter. So I'm not sure exactly how to do that, but I'll figure it out.
It's also on both PLSN and Polestar.
Yeah, but I think they want to get on your email list.
So,
So,
just email me if anybody wants to. It's mstrickland@banditlites.com. Email me and then I'll paste you into the loop.
Perfect. mstrickland@banditlites.com.
Yeah, LITES.
I'll echo absolutely everything that John just said to you, Michael, and all of the effort that you're doing. It's thoroughly appreciated. I've got a tiny bit of good news when you know this, Michael, but to answer you, Marcel, we actually did get a reply from one of the letters that we sent out to our West Coast sales manager, who's based down in San Diego, and his representative Scott Peters did actually respond with a letter. And it wasn't a complete copy and paste of a standard letter. It did have some customization in there. So, it was a positive sign back that maybe they are listening. Maybe they do care. Maybe they will do something about it. So,
yeah.
Fingers crossed.
To your point, Mark, they don't care until they do. And when they do, it's because they've gotten a load of requests on the same subject. They're politicians. Their goal is to be reelected. And I don't mean they're ugly, but that's their goal. And I would say one other thing in all of this. I do this all day in a lot of different formats, and I talk, and for those of you that get involved, you'll see I reply to you personally. We've got a lot of desperate people and a lot of desperate companies right now. And I was on one of these 2 or 3 weeks ago that started out kind of happy and fuzzy. But the truth is there's some desperate folks out there, and we're at the end, we're at the edge. Money's running out, and what do you do? And I think we all know this. We've already lost some good guys and gals that have gotten other jobs in other industries, and guess what? They're not coming back. And if we have no live events through February of next year, I estimate over half the industries won't exist. I don't think all the companies get through with no money, because as I put in one of my emails, there is no college course that teaches you how to run a major entity on zero funds. It just doesn't exist.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, our challenge right now is because PRGs, we don't qualify for any of the funding or anything. We've got to deal with our own private banking issues. But, our goal is to, keep as many people as we can. So there's something to come back to.
Yep.
You got to have something. You can't call them back to nothing. So if this, like when I spoke to a couple managers the other day, and one guy said, "Yeah, we're looking at November 2021. I went, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And and then I realized he was talking about this one particular artist. And I went, "Okay, I have to take off my hat of just talking to you and looking at because he's got 3 big bands. I'm looking at 1,000 big bands. And if I put them all in that November category, it's just like, fuck it, I'm done, because there won't be anything to call anybody back to." So this is great news. Butts in seats in political conventions, in NBA arenas, in NASCAR. That's where the dam cracks and it floods and it's game on. And I've never underestimated the what's the word? The infection, how infectious this disease is. I've questioned how they've handled it. There's people that have experienced just horrible things with their families and friends. I don't diminish any of that at all. However, I go back to you don't burn down. If you find a spider in your house, you don't burn down your whole motherfucking house to get that spider, because then you got nothing to come back to. And that's kind of where we were at. So again, I keep threatening to leave, but I'm not.
You're such a poet, Wiseman.
Well, right now, and again, some of you know this, go to the CDC and look at all the numbers. Right now in America, there are between 26 and 60 million people infected with the flu. There have been between 25 and 60,000 people die of the flu. And for those of you that go, well, why is there a range? Think about it. When you get the flu, you don't go to the hospital and check in. You lay at home, you drink NyQuil or Tamiflu, you tough it out, and off you go. The only numbers that show up at my hospital or any hospital are the people that are extraordinarily sick. So the CDC extrapolates. Right now, the medical community, including my hospital on up to the nation, we believe that between 100 and 150 million people have been infected with this. It's that contagious.
Yeah, I mean, but they don't even talk about the flu, Michael. The flu's, they originally were comparing it to the flu, and that's why I just said, that's why I originally said, are they lying, right? That was a little bit of an editorial comment there, but I meant it, because you don't hear anything about anything else.
We didn't shut down over the flu is the point. Now, this is more contagious, but if you're under 60, you have a 99.99% chance of catching this.
Uh-oh, we're in trouble.
So none of us qualify, but.
Yeah. Whoa,
Those are some scary numbers.
So they think 100 to 150 million people have it, but most of us have gotten over it. I think I had it. We have over 300 employees at Bandit. Them and their families, we don't have one case. The NASCAR group I'm talking about has 600 employees. None of them and none of their families have it, and they're scattered all across the United States. Again, I am not diminishing it by any means.
No, you know what though, but those kind of statistics are real. My college roommate is a big shot at a construction company called Turner Construction. They're one of the largest in the world. And I talked to him about a week ago, and he said, John, I got a work site in San Francisco. Because we're essential, we get to keep it open. He said, we have over 1,000 guys on site every day, not one case. And he says, and we test them, we do the temperatures, they're going in and out. He said, 1,000 people, not one. Now, that's not to beat the statistics over the head. That's just like, hey, that's good news.
And there's a lot of good news.
On the other hand, sorry to interrupt. On the other hand, Skanska, that's building LaGuardia Airport, got devastated in February and early March. Their workforce went down about 20%. Now that's Queens. That's, it's a hotspot, but it's a real thing. And they're testing. They're taking temperatures walking in the door. I've been working there. They're taking temperatures walking in the door. And again, these are people who only get tested if they end up in a hospital or if they officially go for a test too.
So what's different between a construction site in San Francisco and a construction site in Queens? What's the difference?
I can't tell you. The question for the person with the 1,000-person construction site is how many of those folks got tested?
Well,
all of them. They test them all.
Several 100,000 people flew from China into New York in January.
Well, yeah, but you know what? China to San Francisco is a pretty popular route too.
It's not even China. We're getting them from Europe. You're getting Italy,
oh, that's true.
France. Yeah. So it's not even from China.
Right. I'm not saying it's just, we are seeing it. Even the New York City police commissioner last night said 20% of the police force got sick prior. Not right now. They're all, most of them are back, but in the early stages of this, he was down 20%.
No, but that's not downplaying that in any way at all. It's kind of like, okay, so what's the common denominator? Clearly, we're not going to solve that, but I think it's an interesting fact.
Yeah.
The more testing we do, the more people that will be discovered. So what I often say is do not confuse detection with infection. There's a bunch of us out there that have it or had it, and we just haven't been detected yet.
I got really sick in February, and I mean, really sick for me means you still kept working, but I don't know if I willed it that I had it or not, but I was pretty sure that I had, and I was actually hoping that I had it and overcome it and had antibodies and could be helpful. And I went and had a blood test last week. Clean, nothing, no. But then again, the doctor says, you know what, it doesn't always show up. So it's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't, but the testing isn't, remember, the testing isn't for us. The testing is so that the smart scientists can actually trace it and track it and discover hotspots and quash the hotspots so that we don't end up locking down. It's just more information. The more information we all have, and get tested more than once, get tested 3 times, and eventually it's going to be an easy test, like a pinprick, just, walking into a place of business if you're willing to do it. And then we're all going to have just more data to help all this and get us all back to work, I think is the answer.
I think,
absolutely.
Herrick, I think we're a little bit spoiled here in New York because we have the most tests out of the country. And we're being told that they can do, I think, up to 15,000 tests a day, but only about 5,000 people are getting tested a day.
But Matt, the thing is, we're all spoiled. I think the media definitely plays it differently, spins it differently. But I called my doctor's office and I got tested the next day. And there was no line. It wasn't uncomfortable. It wasn't nasty. It was.
What did your doctor say about the antibody test? Because we're being told
I took it.
I took it too. Mine was I took a full blood test. And I did an antibody test and the COVID test and the SARS test. So they actually call it SARS because it takes everything underneath it. And I called and I was in the next day. It was no problem. I had a blood test.
I was in and out literally within probably about 3 minutes.
Put my little mask on. No, I'm in a conference call, but I'm not.
I just muted him.
Yeah, I've just been told it's only about the antibody test is only about 50% accurate. I don't know if that's.
Oh, yeah.
So.
I think isn't it?
We're being told that it's more accurate than that, but it's only accurate for any SARS. So any of the previous SARS will show the same antibodies. So it's not directly COVID-19, which is where there's a change in percentage of how accurate it is. I think they said 85% accurate to SARS, but that could be any one of the 5 known SARS.
So getting back to our industry, Michael, I'm going to ask you a stupid question because I've had 2/3 of a glass of wine and I just feel like asking a stupid question. It's just that time of the call when Marcel asks a stupid question. So, when do we have any semblance of a show that has people at it that isn't 239 people in a 1,200 seat venue?
Again, you've now wandered into opinion, and I go back to what we said earlier, and that is I do believe that the giant petri dish of the social revolt we see on television will give us so much empirical data June 30th that we will be able with great certainty to go one way or the other. There's either going to be a lot of illness and hospitals will be overwhelmed, or there won't be. And I think if we get to that moment and there isn't, I talk directly to managers and artists, and they're ready to go. Garth Brooks has 4 sold-out stadiums in his back pocket. They were supposed to go in May and June and July, and we just keep pushing them back. Well, guess what? He's not canceling. The first one is supposed to be August 22nd in the new stadium in Las Vegas.
That's going to tell us something, that date.
That's supposed to go. I've got several other bands that just keep pushing back. They're holding on. Now we've all got the bands that just said, you know what, I'm good. And usually it's the older acts. Paul McCartney.
I got a bunch that are just pushing, but they're just like pushing. They're like, it's going to be August now. It's September now. I've got 4 big shows, arena sold out shows, and they're all in September.
Is anybody concerned though? We're going to make this big push to open. We're going to open up, and then we will have a bounce, and then we'll all get shut back down, as opposed to waiting it out a bit longer. and then
That's
not
where
have
it
any
out.
bounce?
That's where I think what's happening now with all of these protests.
Yep.
That's a John
Well,
Willis petri dish for us.
Yeah, they're doing it for us.
Like a litmus test for what to expect when the entertainment industry comes back.
But
Yeah.
if there's a big bounce off of that, then
Well, but the good news is
We'll
it's
know
not a
June
bunch of
30th.
it's not a bunch of 75-year-old cancer victims out there protesting. It's probably the strongest of the bunch. So
It's
that's
all young. That's right. Like, I'll tell you that in Astoria, there was a vigil on Monday that I went to. There were probably about 1,000 people there. Everyone had a mask on. Every single person had a mask on. It was actually
right. So I mean, the expectation is when shows start that people will have masks on as well. I doubt they were all staying 6 feet apart, though, were they?
They were not, but with the mitigation is if you wear a mask, transmission becomes 3% or something.
so. But I'll tell you what though, these protests, and this is just from empirical evidence looking at the TV sets. These are 16 to 40-year-olds. If there's a mass spike in that group, we're just totally fucked. That's it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter at that point.
Well,
So
no, that's a good-
the good
good
news
point,
is
Tom.
that the guinea pigs are all like the strong guinea pigs. So I don't know. I always wake up and the glass is half full, and so.
Hey John, I'm wondering if there's another shutdown, are people actually going to stay home, or are they going to say fuck it?
No, they're going. Our age group, not my
Our age group, yeah.
but below our age group, they're the fuck it, let's go do it generation like we used to be. Nobody's gonna stop us back.
To be fair, there is a mix. There is a good mix in there.
Emily, I would. There's always a mix, but I would say it tilts towards we'll be able to fill arenas if we put on a Foo Fighters show, it's gonna be full.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be another shutdown, no matter what the spike is.
I agree with you, Craig. I agree with you.
I don't think the economy can take it. I honestly, another.
I don't think people can take it. I don't think people can take it.
Yeah, I don't foresee another shutdown. I've seen some government officials say as much out of Treasury. The country just simply economically will not function with that. So
yeah, and I want to make sure that I'm not being insensitive to Emily, because I know that she had a very close brush with this with a personal friend or family member. I'm stepping back looking at it without emotion. My gut tells me that when it goes, it's going to go, and based on that age group, let's just call it 16 to 40. I think the tipping point past 51% is that they're all going to just, because that's how they are going to go, fuck it, let's go.
Well, I mean, as somebody who speaks to people, in that age range, most of my friends at least agree with stay-at-home policies and are sick of it and don't like it, but will still adhere to it.
I got four kids between 21 and 28, and you know what? There's nothing I could say to make them stay home.
Yeah, but again, I go back, folks, to June 30th. We'll know. I mean, one of two things are going to happen. It's going to be Armageddon, or it's not. And to Chris, I think it was you that said, one of you said this. I think if it's not, off we go.
Hey, Michael, Robert Mokry wants to speak here. He's got his hand up and everything.
Oh, that was a long time ago. Hey, Michael, are those GAR shows distanced, or are they full sales?
Full sale. He's
Well,
already.
I saw on the Ticketmaster, and I was kind of like, really? All right.
He has sold 100,000 tickets at each of the four shows, and how do you do that?
Well, weren't those sold before this thing hit too?
Yeah. I mean, he could certainly go back. He could do four shows in Las Vegas, 25, 25, 25, and 25
He's not going to do that.
But they offered people refunds on those tickets, right? Didn't they
Yeah,
offer people? And nobody, everybody just held on, wait for this to end.
So what happens if you've got an arena with 18,000 seats in it, and they say, okay, you got a distance, so we're out of the 18,000, we're going to sell 9,000 tickets, and then the band starts and everybody goes up front. I mean,
well, that's what's going to happen.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just trying to be real. I'm not trying to be.
I don't remember who said it.
I'm just calling
somebody
it
on one
like
of our
like,
calls. Somebody
like
on one
it
of our
is.
calls, I think, said, You know, it's not like you can just give everybody a hula hoop, you know, and you gotta stay 6 feet apart.
There was
I
that
mean,
one bar in Florida that had people in inner tubes.
I mean,
well,
you've all been to Yankee Stadium or something where you're like, oh, there's seats behind home plate. I want to wander over there. You know,
that's what I'm saying.
No, but there's ushers and things who are going to be like, you can't do that, and they're going to space them out through all the regions of the arena. So yeah, people are gonna get as close as they can, but you're not going to get. Not everybody's going to be down in the ground.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, you're not gonna have everybody in every other seat sit there and just comply. It's not.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Listen, I mean, people are sick of being away from other people. This is all going to come to a crashing end. And I agree with Mr. Strickland. Thank you, Michael, for all your help and everything and all your insight. But I think that human nature is going to take over here. The society is sick of being at home and being out of everything. And you open an arena for the Foo Fighters or anyone of a number of artists I can think of, Garth, 2 beers in, you can forget about masks and social distancing.
Well, and you know what else? Right or wrong, add to that, people are sick and tired of being told what the fuck to do.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's that too.
Well, and pot's legal, so is it really 2 beers in? You know, I mean, by the time they get in the venue, they're wasted and they just want to hang out, you know? But
I mean, it boils down to human nature. Everyone has different risk tolerances. Some
Is
people
Nook still in the basement?
Is Nook here?
No, I don't think so.
Oh man,
No Nook.
No Nook. We're Nookless.
He lost the internet in his weed hole.
We're no.
So where
Nook.
does that leave the whole thing? If people get a couple of beers, if people you know put their instincts to one side and just go for it, where does that leave us with the whole insurance and liability issue then with all of this?
Michael, look, we won't be doing a show. We won't be doing a show if there's not a liability and an indemnification, which is going to be part of the next Senate bill. I'll step way out on line, Michael, and say,
Michael's got this one.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, Michael.
There's 2 things I'm working on. One is more money, and the other is the liability piece. And regardless of what your political persuasions may be, liability release is a Republican talking point, and the Democrats are universally against it. What is going to happen is that they're going to trade liability release for I don't know what, for something. But the American Trial Lawyers Association, and for those of you that don't know, I am a recovering lawyer. I went to law school.
Yeah.
The American Trial Lawyers Association is one of the largest contributors to the Democratic Party. And if you go look online now, they already have all of the ads online for, did you catch COVID at a public event? Join a class action. I mean, it's a thing now.
Well, no, they're gonna horse trade it, and the Democrats are gonna give it up because they have to, because the Senate won't vote on a damn thing. This last thing, it's gonna happen. So
they're gonna swap it for I don't know what.
Something you know, Michael, as well as unfortunately myself and a few other guys on this call, is you can fucking sue anybody for anything. Doesn't matter. So without, you can't put every business from the mom and pop cafe down the street to the Live Nations to the theater owners in a position where they can be sued the next day if someone gets sick, right? So that's going away, and without the liability and the indemnification going away, you're not going to be able to get insurance. Okay.
Can you do it individually the way Disney's doing it? They're making people sign releases to come on property.
Yeah, that doesn't work. It doesn't work because you can say you signed it under duress. My family was here. What was I going to do, right? So
I can't imagine. I can't imagine if it
ticket.
I can't imagine if it didn't work.
Respectfully, I'm thinking Disney's probably got some pretty badass lawyers.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, Robert.
Well, the risk/power in all of that is the class action, not the individual. Class action is what gets the attention. And to your point, Robert, I've had a bunch of conversations with Disney folks. Disney didn't decide to reopen their parks next month just because. They spent a lot of money researching the medical condition and the legal condition, and they figured out that it's going to be okay to open. And for me, I emailed all of the Bandit folks. The day that came out, I was like, hallelujah, because Disney is not going to just take a lark and go open theme parks. You know, they
Agreed.
probably know a lot more than any of us.
They know some shit.
Yeah.
Well, they also are big enough, and they've got actuaries that say, you know, if we stay closed, it costs us this. If we stay open and we get, you know, the number of lawsuits that's just expected from every day, this is what it's going to cost. And somebody looks at those financial data without taking the human cost into effect, and they go, fuck it, we're going to open, you know. But those guys dig down deep, and you can bet that they know exactly what they're doing. So like you said, Michael, the fact that Disney has made that decision, the amount of research that went into that decision is great for us.
Yeah, I'd like to jump in. I'm actually in Orlando. You know, Disney opens next month, but Universal Studios actually opens up next week. And in Orlando, the bars have been closed, but those are opening up next week. And I think I'd like a general opinion of the group. You know, at what point in the cities do the bars open up, and what's the difference between going to a bar and having an experience as opposed to going to House of Blues and watching a show? You know, it just seems to me that the public, you know, if they're going to restaurants that are 80% full or going to a bar to have drinks, you know, what's the exposure difference to going to see a show at House of Blues?
Yeah, but you're applying logic to a situation that hasn't been logical at all.
Craig, I do have an answer for you. It's it's been proven that actually singing and shouting out loud transmits the virus more.
Fair.
So you know, a House of Blues with a rockin' band, it is. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I want to be back there.
No, that's what I want to hear. Yeah, I'm totally contrasting opinions are great.
And you know, you say 80% in a bar, and really everything, at least in New York, is saying at best 30% in a bar. So that's cool. But can you open House of Blues with 30% occupancy, as opposed to a bar with a bartender and a bar back and somebody making wings?
The bars and restaurants in my town wide open and packed.
Yeah, Florida is wide open. Bars, restaurants, bowling alleys.
I don't think Broward County is so wide open yet, Marcel. I think we're a little
Florida
behind.
opened, I think, today or this week.
Starting
or something.
Friday, all entertainment venues can be open to 50% capacity. That's bowling alleys, theaters, nightclubs, bars, live entertainment venues, anything live entertainment in the state of Florida. Starting this Friday, 50% capacity.
So Jamie, so Jamie, what happens? What happens in that 50% capacity when they're inside? Do they separate them, and what happens if
they're
they
supposed to be
move closer
socially
together?
distanced indoors? All of everything is set up socially distanced. There's not supposed to be seating at bars, but everything outside still socially distanced, but half capacity indoors. This is what I just read.
This is like you gotta have your own private police force to enforce that.
Jamie, like you, I live in Florida, and I'm not seeing it quite like that. So, I mean, even in restaurants, there's people sitting shoulder to shoulder at the bar. You know, they're not sitting 6 feet apart or 8 feet apart or 2 feet apart.
That's just what the governor put out today.
No, I understand. And we've had really good numbers. Florida, we've done really well. So
yeah, we'll see. I hope that everything is on the curve is flattening. But like Michael said, we're going to be seeing the results here in less than 30 days now, and what the real case is, what the proof.
Well, yeah, and they haven't been very careful. These people, you know, obviously the ones that I've seen on the news and stuff.
We could have
screaming in the choir.
We could have this conversation for the next 2 months about what do we think. We're going to know June the 30th.
Yeah.
We're going to know. I mean, you can't argue against the fact that tens of thousands of people have been out shoulder to shoulder for the last 9 days all over the world. So it's either going to be a mass illness or not.
Yeah. Las Vegas. Can we ask Patrick or Andrew, like what Vegas is going to open today, tomorrow? What are the rules out there now?
Friday.
Well, actually, so Fremont Street opened today. The downtown casinos are all open for check-in today, and gambling starts at midnight.
Yeah, tomorrow, June 4th.
Tomorrow at 8 a.m.
Same in Reno.
Yeah, all those open up. So the whole
Tahoe, same thing.
Is it
Tahoe on the Nevada side?
Is it half capacity?
But that's where the illogical part comes in. Is it's a state line Tahoe. There's Harrah's, there's Harvey's, all on the state line. and the Nevada side is open, and across the street, they're writing $1,000 tickets in California.
Yep.
Fucking madness.
A quick question for the group. Does anyone live in a town or city that's had their airline service like dramatically reduced or cut off, or, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, flights have been reduced, but.
Yeah, New York.
I've noticed that
New
a
York.
lot of the routes that I typically take out of Fort Lauderdale Airport have either been suspended or eliminated, and I'm talking more about the nonstop. And they're kind of off the wall remote, not like to larger airlines like Kennedy or LaGuardia, but if I want to fly out to Islip, it takes me like 8 hours. Which is
I have a first world problem. You know, I can't get to my house in the mountains in Canada right now, so
I have the same first world
Pretty-
problem. I can't
pretty
get
sad
to my
about that.
house.
Yeah, me
Sad
too.
about
I
that.
live on a
Last
me
week.
too. I live on an island where there's no way in and no way out. We're totally
Right.
cut off from the
St.
world.
Martin, right? Is it St. Martin?
Well, you should just have that mountain house in the Smokies where mine is. Then you could go.
Well,
to
I'm
whatever
waiting for an
you wanted.
exchange deal here sooner.
No, what are you doing here? Total missed
Sooner, I'm
opportunity.
waiting for the exchange offer.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
All right.
It's fully booked right now through July, though, so you're kind of.
Oh, well, how convenient.
Gotta make
By
money
August, I
somehow
can go to
here.
my own house.
The majority of
problem if
flights
you-
out of Vegas are all connecting flights now. You know, pretty much everything used to be a direct, but almost everything shifted over.
Yeah.
Greg,
And I know JetBlue has suspended their flights between Fort Lauderdale and Stewart Airport till June 15th. And I guess on June 16th, I'll see if that's been updated or not. You know, I think
Isn't
it's
Fort
smaller
Lauderdale to Stewart
airports.
like an hour drive.
Fort Lauderdale to
6-minute
Stewart
flight?
in New York. Newburgh,
Oh,
New
okay, I'm
York.
sorry. Yeah, I was thinking
No,
it's about a 45-minute
No,
drive.
no,
Get
no,
in your
no,
car,
no.
lazy.
If I'm not driving to my house in New York, then I'd fly up to Newburgh and rent a car and drive from there. But me, like you, stuck, can't get to house in mountains.
Hey, is Benoit still here? I know he's saying goodbye, but
Yes, I am.
oh,
I'm still
so
here.
Benoit, I know there was the white paper for the movie business. I've been wanting to ask you about this.
Yes,
And
that is correct. Yeah.
Yeah, what's going on?
It's available. I can actually post a link for everybody to download it. It's
Yeah, that
22
would be
pages.
great.
It was
I
created-
know that
Yeah, it's 20.
somebody else is here who I was
Take it
on a
to bed.
call yesterday.
Yeah, so basically, there was a little go-between because obviously the employers had their own ideas of these guidelines. So there was a little mishmash of delays between the producers and the guilds and the unions, but there was always a good, relationship to come up with something, so that because at some point the governor of California and New York were going to go ahead and issue their own guidelines without the industry saying anything. So they gave them until Monday, this past Monday, so the paper went in. Now we don't hear anything from Cuomo or Newsom yet, and also Garcetti in Los Angeles, who's in charge of, approving LA County to open the major studios, because they're all
Right.
in LA. And so now it's a game of just waiting to see what the federal, each state, and overall what's going to happen about.
So basically what's happened is the industry put together a white paper saying how we can, basically go out and film movies safely, and delivered that to the officials.
Yes, there would be a COVID supervisor monitor that would be assigned to every production that would not be the medic, because the medic has his own set of, his or her set of responsibilities. They don't want to add that to the medic.
Right.
They would prefer if that COVID monitor was a medical professional, in order to have some kind of authority to say you're not following the guidelines, put your mask back on, or anything like that. Testing it will be important at the beginning of every production that you get hired on, and then you'll have to wait until you get your results to be approved to work on it. And then the biggest point of contention supposedly was paid sick leave, because if you're on a production and you do get sick, they don't want you to do like the old days and still come into work. So the unions and guilds really wanted to make sure that employees would be protected and would get some paid leave if they were part of the core crew on a show. So that was a big gain there to make sure. It's always almost like an interesting negotiation before these contracts expire, because I know IATSE's is expiring next year, so they have to negotiate the new contract. So yeah, the white paper is in, and then we'll find out soon what Newsom and Cuomo and Mayor Garcetti and the mayor of New York will decide on. Supposedly the big difference will be that New York will not allow any location shooting. It'll all be done in their sound stages, whereas LA is more spread out and more wide open, and so they think that location shoots will happen here a little more.
All right.
And then there's supposed to be three factions of producers. One producer faction that is ready to start tomorrow. The other one that is basically a TV series based, and they would be starting in July no matter what, so they're going to wait. And then the other producers for the top movies like Marvel and DC and all these big things, the big shows, those guys will wait, because as Magneto said it so well in X-Men, we always let the pawns go out first to find out.
Right.
So, it's going to be interesting. I'm not going to rush to run into the first job offer I get, unless it's obviously one of my favorite DPs and gaffers who might be calling. So we'll see what happens. I'm anticipating that we might be able to get back to work in July, and that's going to help a little bit since Matchbox 20 postponed their tour until July 2021.
Thank you for sharing that, Benoit.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
And you can go now if you need to. I'm sorry to delay you.
It's time to entertain a 5-year-old girl.
Yeah, I saw your daughter waiting for you at the doorway. They're very patient.
I want to make sure to say thank you again to Michael Strickland for his excellent work. There she is. And great to see everyone, as always. And
and you as well, buddy.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you, Benoit.
No problem. Have a great day, everybody.
I wanted to throw something in on top of what Benoit said, and others of you may know this. We have an installation side at Bandit, and we do venues and churches and clubs and schools and all of that. We've got 21 jobs across the United States that never stopped, including one in downtown Manhattan, because the union told the political people, nah, we're going. So
hey, Michael, be careful, because there's about 10 manufacturers on this call as well. So
they know I've talked to them.
Your phone's going to be lighting up at the end of this.
We were continuing to ship goods. Now, we withdrew our people from the New York site, and we have 2 sites in LA. We withdrew our people from both New York and LA, and also from a Dallas job. But those jobs carried on because of the strength of the, I guess, the strength of the union.
Yeah, well, one thing I'd like to add about the white paper. The white paper was created to instill some confidence in leaders, in political leaders, so that if by pure bad luck there is another wave or there is another shutdown and everybody needs to come back home, sorry, Anya, hopefully this white paper and the consensus will be that the movie and TV industry could continue through the next lockdown. So that's why they're really lobbying hard to make sure that that side of the equation is worked on. So hopefully we'll see what happens if there's another shutdown, if we'll be allowed to continue, or if all the shows will be postponed again.
Right. Cool.
Well, I thought it was hopeful to see that news that Fauci thinks that we're going to have a workable vaccine by the first quarter in hundreds of millions of doses.
Yeah. You know, this is another topic where the whole world is split, because I'm not one who's waiting for a vaccine necessarily. I mean, I believe that it's going to provide great value and benefit to all of us, but I think it's
going to provide confidence a lot.
Yeah, if you get one, I think a lot of bets are off. Even if you get one that's 80% effective.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chris. I agree.
Which again, most people don't know this, but there are 1,008 different varieties of flu. Every year when you get a flu shot, the medical community in the United States is working 3 to 5 years ahead of time, projecting what are the 7 to 10 most likely flus that are going to strike next year and the year after and the year after. And that's why 2 years ago they missed it, and we had 62,000 deaths from flu. They just missed which one came. So every year, the medical community is guessing which strains of flu are going to be most active, and no flu vaccine is 100% effective.
Well, Michael, it's funny you say that, because I've said this before, but I had my very first flu shot this year in January, and about a week later, I think I got the worst flu I've ever had.
That's
and
there's no connection between the two.
I have no idea. I have no idea. I ain't blaming anything.
Two
I'm
different
just saying
things.
I got sick as hell. So a week later, I got the flu, and I called my doctor, and I'm like, "Yeah, thanks, man."
But right now, both AstraZeneca and Moderna have gone on record saying they're going to have a vaccine by the end of October. That will ruin both companies if that doesn't happen. Now, there is some, if you pay attention, there is some consternation over the Moderna situation, because two of the higher ups in Moderna released that information and then immediately sold $30 million worth of stock. And then the stock went back down. But the point is, Moderna will not exist if that isn't true, because it will crush that company, and AstraZeneca will take a phenomenal valuation hit in the market if indeed they don't deliver, because they both went on the record and said that.
Well, realize that there are 110 virus groups working on a vaccine, 110 currently, all working on different vaccines. So usually when there's 100 vaccines, you get one to three of them. So, you know, we have a good chance. We're in the parameters. So the science is there, you know.
I was just stunned that they would make that statement. That first Moderna did, which that was really surprising. But then when AstraZeneca went way out on that limb, it was like, whoa, did they just say that?
Yeah.
Well, I bought Moderna stock and it's still up. So
you're what?
I bought Moderna stock low, and it went up to $80 a share, and then came back down to like 59. So I'm still up. So rolling the dice.
You bought it at 20 something.
Yeah, I bought it real low.
I shorted it, Matt.
Oh, you did?
I'm
like,
kidding. I'm kidding. I don't really do
I mean,
this
for me, I was
thing.
like, with the interest rates being at 0 to 0.25%, it's better to just roll the dice in the stock market. You'll get a better return. So
that's probably true, right? So, Eric, how did Sooner do today?
I think she did fantastic.
Oh, come on. You can be honest.
Are you sure?
She was great.
I'm always the dumbest one on all those calls, by the way. It's hilarious. Like,
who else was on that thing, Eric? Who else was on that? Because I couldn't get in because it made me register, and I couldn't figure out your complicated registration process.
You're not our target audience, Marcel, so we block.
Okay.
Hang
on, let me mute your mic here, Eric. Sorry about that. We can't hear you.
We had Corey Fitzgerald as well as Travis Shirley. It was a great.
Right.
I was
That's
an
a great group.
attendee, and I must say it was a very good session. Really, really good stories.
It was an excellent
information,
session.
all of you. Yeah, it was excellent.
I mean, I deserve a glass of wine now.
Yes, ma'am, you do.
I'm surprised you aren't drinking a glass of wine right now.
I know. I have to still go work out somehow in 93-degree heat. So
you're not.
Oh, boy.
Drink a glass
I
of wine.
am.
Yeah, it's always a hard choice between drinking and working out.
It really is.
Drunk workouts are the most fun.
True.
So we have to do our weekly Steve Warren check-in. You got to turn your mic on, son.
What up, Steve?
I've never quite been as quiet as tonight. To be honest, I'm absolutely shocked. I'm aghast at all these talks about the casinos opening up, the bars opening up, restaurants. We drive through the high streets and it's just like a ghost town. The pubs, all the pubs are closed till July at the very best. All the restaurants are closed. We're not seeing any activity. We still have this sort of very, we're hoping to start seeing venues opening up with 50 people. What's the point in a venue opening up with 50 people? So they won't. And I have to say, the best thing about being on this call is it really lifts me with optimism. I'm looking forward to telling my partners tomorrow that, America's leading the charge. You
Well,
guys,
Steve, you're just a few riots away from coming back. I'm telling you.
yeah, we got to get out on the streets. Yeah.
You could move to Italy. They said that the thing is over. Coronavirus is gone. That's what Italy has announced.
It really only matters how much those 50 people pay in the venue.
Yeah.
We're all in tax.
Yeah. Yeah. That's depressing. So when is it opening? I heard England was opening like yesterday or something.
No, England has allowed 6 people to meet together, but you have to be outside. So you have to be in the back garden, but they can walk through your house. You can walk through somebody's house, and you're allowed to come back in to use the toilets.
Didn't you guys used to own like 75% of the globe, and now you can't take your own country back?
We're a tiny little island, man.
Yeah, we've all been taken over by England at some point.
Yeah, and we busted you.
Come take our country.
We're fucking paying for it now, so you know.
Wow. Sorry, we're laughing. We're laughing with you, though, Steve, not at you.
No.
Well, Patrick's probably laughing at you, but I'm laughing with you.
Definitely laughing at
you. That's right. We can take it. We deserve it, man. We've been absolute bastards for hundreds of years. Anyway, I'm only half English, so that's the bastard half.
Yeah, and the other half's Jamaican, and we know they're in a bit of trouble too, right? Yeah.
Keep it sweet, man. But yeah, I'm just, really looking forward to watching what's happening in America. And as Michael says, it's a short period of time until we'll have a very good indication of what's going on. And let's hope that we then.
Yeah, the English are going to use us for the petri dish. The English are like, let's see how many Americans die before we make this decision.
No, I have to say, on the brave side, before they allowed us out, man, last weekend they said, well, we're going to allow you out next week. So immediately we're, a whole bunch of lighting designers met on Captain Common. We had loads of drinks. Then we went back to somebody's house till 3 a.m. We were just, but we're still breaking the law. They could come in and bust you at any point. So, and not for anything that we used to get busted for, just for drinking and meeting together. So, hey, looking forward to seeing what happens, man.
Well, Steve, anytime you want to come over, Sooner's got about 7 guest houses, so you can go live in one of her guest homes. It's
okay.
You can't use the only guest house that I have because it's rented through the end of July. So.
Oh yes, we've made
the
that very
only way
clear.
I can keep said guest house is to keep it rented. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with your stocks and shares dealing. I keep hedging my bets and like buying a little bit more Bitcoin as each time. We'll see what happens in case the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. Maybe someday we can have about 12 beers and you can explain to me how Bitcoin works, because I'm scared to death of it at this point. I have no idea.
What about blockchain?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Perfectly clear now. Thank you.
Invested
that just cleared me up.
Blockchain. This is from a guy who owns one of the most technical websites in our industry. Come on, dude.
But the thing is, I don't understand blockchain or Bitcoin or any of this stuff. It's like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe Strickland can explain it to me. David Milley.
Ponzi scheme in the world, Bitcoin.
Michael Strickland, can you believe David Milley's on this call? We dragged him out of retirement.
I didn't know he was still alive. I thought he died.
David, you got to turn your mic on, rookie.
He's on. You're on, David. Come on.
All right. Michael, thank you for doing what you're doing.
Well, thank you, sir.
It's kind of sad watching what has occurred and all these people that I've worked with for 30, 40 years to go through the pain you're going through. It's horrible. And I don't see any industry that got decimated worse than the entertainment industry. I hope this little test that you're talking about, Michael, really does tell us what's going on in 2 or 3 weeks. But if it opens up, I think people are ready to get out of the house. Absolutely.
No question.
So anyway.
Are you going to come back, David? Are you going to start up TLS again or something?
No, Marcel.
Is your non-compete over yet, David?
It's over, but do you see what's in my backyard right here? This is where I'm having fun around my boat. I'm going to dinner in my boat in a minute. So,
yeah.
Anyway, if anybody I can help
you,
anyway,
David.
let me know. But I feel your pain and hang in there. It'll get over someday.
Yeah. I think Steve Warren wants to come live on your boat, David.
You know,
that's all right.
Jonathan Smeaton moved back to England in that little channel boat.
I know.
He's self-isolated and floating around. I think England has like 3,000 or 4,000 miles of channels. When the Industrial Revolution hit over there, they built channels and had a mule pull barges down, and they're all still there. Sort of like the interstate in America, it was the canals mule train in the Industrial Revolution. So he's going to travel all 5,000 or 4,000 miles of the canals. We'll see.
I think Loader's been over and seen it, right, Eric?
Yeah, last year I went on his boat, and it's pretty cool. He's having fun with it, and
yeah, it's like 60 feet long and 7 feet wide.
Yeah, it's really narrow and long.
He gets to a lock, he's got to park his boat, get out and hand crank the lock out of the way, drive to the other side and hand crank the lock back down, and then move on to the next one. So
it's old school.
Very, very old school. So
yeah.
Is that getting your steps in?
It's almost the same, right? Keep your monitor working, Fitbit.
Yep.
Marcel, I would like to share with everyone what I share with my people daily, and that is because of my medical hat. The medical look, not my look, not the UT Medical Center's look, not the Knoxville look, not the Tennessee look, but the vast amount of conversation that we have. I get daily reports, statistics on all of this. The overarching point of view is that this is burning out, that this is passing. It is highly contagious. It is very destructive to people over 65 with comorbidity issues. What it does is it causes the inside of your lungs, if you will, to hyper-react, and the vestibules of your lungs swell up, and then you can't breathe. So it's a real concern to people over 65, especially with heart disease or diabetes or obesity or a whole bunch of other things. So those people will probably for a long time be in a particular category of high risk. But once you exclude those folks, for the rest of us, it's okay. And the group think medically is, and even Fauci said this, I guess, 10 days ago, even when there's a fall reoccurrence, he doesn't expect there, and if you listened to him, he doesn't expect there to be hospitalizations. And for those of you that get my emails, the 4 big indicators are number of people in the hospital, number of people in the ICU, number of people intubated, and number of deaths. Those are all trending down nationally. Now, the infection rate's rising and the number of detected people is rising, but the big 4 indicators continue to trend down, even in New York City. So that's kind of the bright news. And I share this so that people can hopefully move to a more positive place. And what I tell my people on a daily basis is don't watch television.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Do not
very
watch
good point.
television. It's just depressing.
It ain't easy to do, but it's a very good practice to get into. That's for sure.
Well, I mean television news. I sit and watch every channel. I will be very honest. Why? I've got to ingest CNN, Fox, MSNBC, CBS, the C-SPAN. I've got to ingest all of that to do all of this stuff that I do, because I've got to see every single point of view, and then I have to go back through it. I've read every bill. The first bill came out was 138 pages, then it was 158 pages, and eventually it being 1,400 pages. I've read a lot of bills, and it continues because that's
you're a masochist, Mr. Strickland.
I'm just trying to get it right because we've got an industry. We've got an industry at risk.
Yeah,
so that's my job right now, is making sure that we save as Right now, to me, there's not a Bandit and an Upstaging and a Christie and a whatever, and a PRG. Right now, there's an industry because we're as much as I hate it, we're in this together. I mean, I hate to say that. That's so tried and true.
Yeah. But you know what, Michael, I can honestly say we appreciate you very much and the things that you're doing. And I hope we all live through this so that we can someday thank you at a trade show or something.
We will. We will.
Yeah. I mean, really, the stuff you're doing is incredibly difficult. And I know, I've been talking to you, multiple times, and you're always saying, I'm working 16-hour days doing this and this and this. And I mean, a lot of people in our industry are, not working 16-hour days. You're really trying to move things forward. So we appreciate you very much, Michael.
Well, thank
and
you.
I also appreciate you coming here today to, hopefully people picked up a little bit of information and inspiration, because,
let me share with you all something. This is
please.
big. This is huge. Are you all familiar with NAM?
Yeah.
A little bit. National Association of Music Merchants.
The Parnellis moved to NAM. This is huge. There's a webinar thing tomorrow at 4:00 my time, East Coast time, that I'm on with NAM, and I've been talking to Joe Lamont, who's the president of NAM, and all the other wonderful people there. Terry Lowe from PLSN, put this webinar together tomorrow. Point of it all is that I have talked to 20 different groups right now that are trying to salvage our industry. And you know who they are, because many of you belong to them. And we're all doing wonderful work. We're all doing great things. But we as an industry, like I said earlier, we don't have a single voice. We don't have a lobbying group. We're just scattered and smothered. We're a band of gypsies. So it turns out that NAM, who has 125,000 people every year, and they have a member base of 250,000 people, they actually do employ annually a lobbying firm. And I met with two of those people today, and they have embraced us. They have embraced our industry, and the seeds of us moving more as an industry to work with them. Number one, they want us to become more involved. Many of you have been to NAM and seen, sort of the rock and roll live show stuff is starting to creep into it, but we're now at a high level, sort of wrapping our arms around one another, because as they lobby for the music industry, and we're a huge part of that. So I'm excited, and I believe that in the next 6 months, we as live show people can begin to have a voice through NAM and through the NAM lobbyists. And that was so exciting. I've been doing that for 3 days now. And they're actually paid a lot of money. It would stagger you to lobby for NAM. And NAM, Joe Lamont and NAM have opened their arms. So I'm glad I remembered that.
Hey, Michael, I had a quick question for you. Like we've talked about PPP and EIDL, but for the independent contractors, me as a designer, are my dimmer techs that are freelance and all that other stuff. Is there anything, are you seeing anything that the government is kind of doing to, keep an eye out for people that aren't employed by a major company and running their own business?
PPP pays individuals. I mean, from day one it has. It's what they call gig people. But yes, you can go apply and you can go get a PPP loan, and if it goes toward your payroll, it will be forgiven at the end of hopefully what will be either 16 or 22 weeks. So for those of you as individuals that haven't applied, please go do it. There's $120 billion in there right now, and I suggest you do not go to Bank of America or Wells Fargo or any of the big people. They've pretty much quit. Go to the smaller local lender in your community. And right now it's really quieted down. I'd say you can get that executed and delivered to you probably in 10 to 14 days.
I heard Cabbage also. Online Cabbage is taking a lot of those.
And PayPal. I've heard good things about PayPal.
But what it is, when I'm going to call my local bank Bob's Bank. When I go to Bob's Bank, I'm actually borrowing money from Bob's Bank. The federal government stands in as the guarantor. So it's actually between me and my bank until either the loan is forgiven, and when the loan is forgiven, the SBA pays my local lender. If the loan is not forgiven, it stays at Bob's Bank as a loan for 2 years at 1%, hopefully 5 years at 1%. So the money doesn't come from the feds to Bob's Bank until your loan is forgiven. So you are actually borrowing. So in the case of Cabbage and in the case of PayPal, they're just standing in as lenders. because it's between you and them. And for you freelance folks, the paperwork is not that difficult. You basically just have to give them a couple of tax returns and swear a couple
it's pretty
of things.
easy.
It's pretty easy.
Tyler Roach just said bluevine.com from start to money in his account, 72 hours.
Yeah, it's really rolling now. I guess we should have covered that earlier.
Well,
yeah.
Here's the other question. I wasn't approved for PPP, but I did get the EIDL.
That's just a loan.
Which I know. And I'm not touching it until I have
You
to.
can still apply for PPP.
Can I? Yeah, that's my question. Can I still apply for that?
You can still apply.
They're not mutually exclusive. And as you know, I think they capped the EIDLs. It was meant to be up to 2 million. They capped it at 150,000.
Yeah,
They didn't announce that, but they just did.
I got like 13 grand, which it's enough to pay rent and bills, but
that's a good thing. Rent and bills is good. So does anyone else have anything here before we sign off?
I was just to ask how the PPP down in the States have that up here in Canada.
Sorry, you're breaking up a little bit, Anthony. Can you say that again?
Sorry, I think it's internet. Let me turn on my.
Yeah, you're going in and out. Maybe type your question.
Maybe it's because your background has 24 live streams in it. I'm just guessing.
All right, everybody, thank you very much. I'm going to go feed some kids, and I'll see you next time.
Feeding kids is kind of important, Giovanni. See you, buddy.
Somebody told
Michael,
me
I
have to feed them at least twice a day.
I want to thank you again, Michael, for doing this. We appreciate it very much. I know I can tell from your voice how much you're talking every day.
Nonstop.
And, you know, I mean, I learned a ton just by listening to you here for a few minutes. I hope everybody else did. And we invite you any Wednesday where you got some time to kill to come and join us, same time, same place. Yeah, we do it every Wednesday at 5. And sometimes it's 70 people, sometimes it's 40 people, but it's always a whole bunch of really great people. So we enjoy it. I mean, sometimes it's informative. Sometimes it's just, you know, Patrick showing off his newest arm art. Where is it, Patrick? Show us. Oh, look at that. Look at that. That looks painful, man.
It hurts like hell.
By the way, Chris, you know Patrick was taking a piss here with the sushi behind him, right?
That was for you, Chris. I wanted to know if you
Chris,
put the
your
milk
mic's
in
off.
first with the sushi.
I'm always glad to have everybody on the sushi train.
Yeah. I think we should just all come next week with sushi backgrounds.
I urge everyone here, if you want to email me, I will loop you into my big group of folks that I email all the time, because that's what this is about, is volume. And when I send out something to you, you've got to, like a virus, send it to everybody that you know. And it 95% of the time is a congressional type legal issue. Today was the first day I did an opinion, because the more we hammer the senators and the congressmen, eventually their aides say, you know, we've gotten 450 things about this show business needing more money, and then they pivot, and it's working.
Yeah. You know, I reached out to our senators and representatives here in Texas, and I was shocked. I got personal responses from their aides within 48 hours. I was shocked, really. Yeah, they were like, what's going on? Let us know, you know, and so I would encourage others to do it. There's nothing to lose but the time of sending the emails.
And I will also tell you, don't waste your time sending your emails out of where you live. Their computers know where you live.
Well, I was just going to send them to Texas because Robert said they respond and stuff. You know, and I'm lonely. I like to get responses from these people, so maybe I'll just email them to Texas.
Here in Jersey, all the senators responded, even the senators not from my area. So
same in
California.
California.
I email them every week, to let them know that we still have nothing.
Yeah, it's critical mass. That's what it is. It's critical mass.
Yeah, same in California. We've gotten, replies, but, I just want to say and echo what Marcel said, Michael, thank you for bringing us some hope. And I think we need more of that these days. And I think if we're all working together, we're going to see some progress.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right, folks, gonna end it. Peace.
Thanks,
See you next
Marcel.
week.
Much again, Marcel. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you all.
See ya. It's my
Thanks,
friend.
folks.